I'm chatting with James Loewen, and we're talking about eNegotiation. James, can you take us through the process? Assume that I'm a new client, I've just separated. What happens? How do I make use of your technology?
Well, typically we'll get a call saying help, and we determine on that call whether or not we're an appropriate service. So do you have something to negotiate, and like an agreement, separation agreement?
Yeah.
And then we need to make sure that both parties are interested. It is a voluntary process. And
so would I have to talk my ex into this process then?
no, that's essentially what we do. Is we then will contact the other party with their permission, of course, and tell them what we do and see if they're interested. We usually will then arrange a get-together face-to-face.
With the couple and
with the
you?
couple or individually, whichever they feel most comfortable with.
So the couple would come into your office, and they're going to meet with a mediator,
That's correct.
right? Okay, and then what happens at the meeting?
Well, I would go over the process with them, describe it to them, the fact that we will develop a framework for agreement, which is essentially like the final agreement, only we identify those areas where they agree, and we identify those areas where they disagree.
So at that meeting, you're going to define what the issues are that they disagree about, and you're going to explain to them that there's a process that involves technology
Right?
that's going to help them reach settlement.
That's correct. And,
Okay,
and
and
of
then
course
what
there's an
happens?
agreement to participate that they have to sign.
And what does it cost?
Well, it varies from case to case. And in that interview, we'll get a sense of how complex the case is and what needs there are for it.
Well, let's assume the typical case, you've got a couple, they're arguing over custody of their children, they've got some property, some investments, they can't agree on anything.
Well, typically, if they can't agree on everything, then we're looking at around $10,000 combined.
And what do they get for that? Do they buy a disc and put it in their computer, install something?
What they get is a facilitated process where a mediator is assigned to their case, or if a lawyer is using the product, then they would use it with them. And
So there's going to be a lawyer, a mediator assigned to the family.
right.
And do the parents each get some kind of software to install into their computers?
They can if they like. What we do is first we do the information gathering stage where there's the full disclosure around finances. We explore what the issues are around children, parenting obligations, and those sorts of things.
All right, so let's assume that both parties are saying, well, we're interested. Tell us what this is all about. They tell you what they disagree about, what they each want. Each of them wants custody, or one of them wants joint custody, and the other one wants sole custody. They're disagreeing about support, and they disagree about how their property should be valued. Maybe one of them wants to keep the matrimonial home, the other one thinks it should be sold because they want their money out.
Right. So what we'll do is we'll then take all of that, and for each of the parties, we'll set up a screen, a private view, a graphic view, and we'll represent how they feel about all those different issues.
So each of them gives you the wish list of what they want.
Well, we talk about what the issues are. We identify the range that exists in that issue between one party and the other that can exist. And then we identify with them, we go through those and say, what are the most important issues for you? How do you feel about them? How do you feel about them across the range of options? And then we start putting together, well, what would a fair package look like? A fair deal overall look like for you? What would a really good agreement look like to you?
And they're
what
both
is your
still
walk
sitting
away?
there when this is happening?
This is separate.
Oh, so they've
and
gone
apart.
home.
So they've gone home. We've done all the information gathering.
And do they each pay the $10,000, or is that one fee?
We charge it by phases. So as we move through the software, we have deliverables that we agree on along the way.
So what's the first deliverable? Defining the issues?
Defining the issues and gathering the information. The next one is then representing their case in the software. So we essentially teach the software how they feel about the case. So we sit down with one, they tell us how they feel about the various options for agreement. Right. We do that with the others. And so we train the software to know how they feel about different potential solutions.
So let's assume they each say what they want, and they're diametrically opposed.
Right.
Now what's the next phase?
The next phase is we have them exchange proposals, so kind of like a first offer that's shared electronically. And what that does is it defines the range of disagreement that they have. And we help them understand, well, how satisfied will you be with this agreement versus that agreement? Right. We can then have the software find middle ground for them. So the software now knows where both of them want to find value in the agreement.
So the software can actually engineer a compromise out of what they each want. That's really what
it's
you're
actually
doing.
better than a compromise. What it looks for is a collaborative outcome. And,
So a win-win.
Yes, a win-win, absolutely.
And so the software finds common points where they would each be satisfied and puts that together for them.
Right. So in a 9-issue case, you're looking at 10 trillion possible outcomes. So what it does is it sifts through all of those and finds only the ones that are likely to be interesting and puts them out there. And then we can work with the client to say, how do you feel about these? And then we're able to rank them and teach the software even more how they feel about different things. And then it can go back and look for even more interesting solutions.
That's amazing.
It
That's
is. It's
actually
incredible.
very innovative. Thank you for that explanation. I think it's, I've never heard of anything like it, and I'm quite intrigued by it. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate you having me.